through the process of taking a regular PNG, the logo of Codesmith, and turning it into a 3D model that we can import into Three.js. Let's rename our logo something a little more semantic, like CS logo, and great. Next, we're going to step into Inkscape, which is a free program, and we will be able to turn our PNG into an SVG. We do this by tracing bitmap, which is going to take this bitmap that we just imported and turn it into an SVG, which is a scalable vector graphics. We're going to take the top layer off of this and move it onto our paper and delete our bitmap. We no longer are going to need it. We're just going to center it a little bit, and perfect. Looks beautiful. Let us save it as an SVG file, CS logo. Make sure we are in our directory and save. Excellent. Next, we'll move on to Blender. Blender, we're going to take our SVG file and add a third dimension and export it in a format called GLTF that Three.js can read. So first, let us import our SVG that we just created in Codesmith logo. And it's super small right now. We'll zoom in a little bit. Let's enlarge it a little bit first, just to make it a little more visible. There we go. Lovely. And we'll move it back to the center. Let's delete some of these extra paths that were rendered when we made our SVG file. We're only really going to need this main path 26. As you can see, it highlights the main logo. Next, we're going to go into geometry down here, and we'll extrude it. As you see, it's now three-dimensional. I'm going to move it a little bit more just to make sure we have a nice pivot point around all three axes and it's pretty even. So I'm going to move it a little bit right here. And as you see, we have a pretty good 3D logo. Next, we're going to change the color by going into the shader editor. And we're going to view the nodes of our selected path. And we are going to change our base color. It's not going to appear in the actual editor, but when we load our exported file in, you'll see that it did change. And lastly, we're going to need to go up to Object here, and we're going to need to convert it to a mesh so that our Three.js loader can read it. Great. Now all we have to do is export it as a GLTF format. I'm going to use a GLB extension. It's a little more compact. I'll call it once again CS logo, and we'll dive right into our Codesmith logo file. And it's here. Last, we're just going to want to check to make sure it is exported properly. So we'll go into this GLTF viewer by Dom McCurdy, which is just a click and drag of your models. And excellent. You can see that we have indeed made a working 3D model, and our next step will be loading it into Three.js.